Tuning out for Radio. Tuning out for Radio.
Revive is alive. Once again, Revive is alive. I want you guys out there to follow us, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram at Revive_P.O.C. And don't forget to subscribe to that Revive newsletter where you can find at ReviveIsAlive.com. Once again, that is ReviveIsAlive.com. Spread the word, spread the message. It's me, your girl P.O.C, host of Revive Radio.
Hey, this is your girl Nakima.
What's going on? It's your boy Kev.
And we are here representing 1122 MMG.
Stay locked, Revive Radio. You know what it is.
You are listening to Revive Radio. The views and opinions expressed on Revive Radio does not necessarily reflect ownership, management, and advertisers of Revive Radio.
Ten, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
You already know what time it is. ReviveIsAlive.com. Once again, ReviveIsAlive.com. Tune in. Revive is alive. Welcome to Revive. It's about that time. Welcome to Revive. It's about that time. All I need is one mic. You know what time it is. Open up your ears. You know what time it is. Open up your mind. It's about that time. It's your girl P.O.C. Hey! It's your girl P.O.C. Hey! Proof of consciousness. Proof of consciousness. P.O.C. You know what time it is. Open up your ears. You know what time it is. Open up your mind. All I need is it's about that time. Welcome to Revive. Yep to the yep. You already know what time it is, man. It's your girl P.O.C, host of Revive Radio, man. We are live right now on Revive is Alive, ReviveIsAlive.com, man. Turn your radios up, spread the word, spread the message, man. We got our two special guests on the line right now. Yo, ladies, y'all looking beautiful as ever. How y'all feeling today?
Good.
Yo, the sun hitting y'all real nice right now, man. Y'all got that good angle popping for real. How y'all feeling? Go ahead and introduce yourself and tell the people who y'all are.
My name is Heavenly. My name's Tatyiana.
And Heaven and Tatyiana, I appreciate both of you. I definitely commend you on everything that you guys just did, this past Saturday. And this is exactly why, we have you on air right now, because we want to talk about, what's happening. We want to talk about your emotions. We want to talk about your feelings. We want to even talk about what's next, if you even have any answers to what's next. But I want to just simply ask you, how are you guys doing as a person? After Saturday, all the emotions that happened after Saturday's march and rally, how do you guys feel right now?
Great.
Great. That's a good answer. If you could describe it in an emotion, how would you describe it in some type of emotion?
Happy. Yeah. Proud. Yeah, proud.
Awesome. And why do you say proud? Talk to me.
Because we feel like we did a good thing for our community, especially and if we didn't do it, nobody else would have done it.
Mm-hmm.
And nobody else had the idea. And we're very young, so it's very uncommon for young people to do it, especially in our town. So
yes. So speaking of young, how old are you guys, if you don't mind me asking?
we're 14.
Well, both of you guys are 14.
Yes.
Awesome. So being a 14-year-old, is it hard being a 14-year-old right now in 2020? Just wondering.
No, not personally.
Okay.
Because we don't have to deal with. We don't really go anywhere, and our town is very small, so everybody knows each other. So it's not really everybody is different and has different problems. So it's really just a community. So it's not a lot of problems you really go through.
And when you speak of your town, you're in Penn Grove, New Jersey.
Yes.
Yes. So just describe Penn Grove, New Jersey to us. What does that look like?
Small. Yeah, it's very small where everybody knows each other. Our town is a square mile. Everybody knows each other. It's not a lot to do down here. It's just...
Is it made up of, black and brown people? Is it a mixture of people? How does it...
It is.
Yes. It's made up of black and brown people. So on Saturday, when you guys went out to march, did everyone show up? Did other people outside of Penn Grove, New Jersey show up? Talk to me a little bit about that. Talk to me a little about seeing other people outside of your small town actually showing up to support you all.
It was like, there was a lot of, it was like 400 people.
Awesome.
Like, us, we were surprised. We didn't really think, like, people outside of the town was going to come. But then, like, they ended up coming.
It was a lot. It was way more people than we expected to.
Yeah.
It was a lot.
So in order to do something like that, you have to have like a spirit or a mindset of a leader. So, but would you say both of you guys are the leaders? Like, how did that happen? Like, were you sitting around with your father? I know your father's always in the community. Like, how did this actually come across, your mindset to say that this is something that I wanted to do?
So we was on the phone.
Yeah.
And I was on Instagram and I seen all the people doing it. So I told her, I was like, let's have one.
Mm-hmm.
And then she was like, okay. So she told her dad, and then we started from there.
Awesome. So what about you having, so when it comes down to, you having the role model like your dad, and all you have to do is say, yo, Dad, this is something I want to do, and he's totally with it. How does that feel, having that type of support system in your home?
It feels great. Like I could just like ask him anything, and then he'll just help me with it. And yeah.
So how would you guys explain, your feeling after you saw on social media? I know that you said you guys were on the phone and y'all were discussing what was happening on social media, but how would you explain that feeling? Like, how would you explain what you saw to, another 14 or 13-year-old?
It was upsetting to us because like we don't want that to happen to our people
or us.
Yeah.
So because I want to ask you a question, right? And I just want to know personally how you guys feel, right? So, and I know you've seen the video of Walter, right? So when you see, I'm sorry, I said Walter thinking of your dad, George, I'm sorry. When you see the video of George, right? And you see, him asking for his life. You see him saying he is not able to breathe. And you say that you don't want that to happen to us. What are you saying exactly? You know what I'm saying? You saying that you don't want to happen as far as an altercation with the police, or you don't want to be in a situation where you even have to be around the police. Like, what don't you want to happen to you?
Everything. I just think if you're in a job to where you're going to deal with all races, you shouldn't feel any type of way to all the races. You shouldn't just feel like that you like white people. You should feel like you have equal like respect for everybody if you're going to work with everybody.
I agree with you. And what about you, Heaven?
Same thing. Like you need to, like, if you're going to protect us and serve us, like, you need to have respect for like all of us, not just white.
I agree with you on that. And when it comes down to just police in general, it's definitely not all of them. All cops are not bad cops. What do you think about that when I say that? All cops are not bad cops. What's your thoughts on that?
I mean, I agree because I know the cops down here. Well, my mom and my family know them personally, so like I know they're not bad, but like I mean, outside of Penns Grove, I don't really like have a perspective on them, so you never know. Okay.
That's real. What about you?
Well, some cops down here, they're bad, but like there's also some cops that are good and like they're really like nice.
Mm-hmm. So when it comes down to having a protest, the whole purpose of a protest is for it to be peaceful, and using your rights as an American citizen to have a peaceful protest. So when it comes down to even knowing your rights, have you guys stopped to educate yourself on knowing your rights when you are in an altercation with the police?
Yes. Yeah.
Awesome. So when it comes down to having a conversation with your peers about your rights, what are the conversations like about there? Like, what are, teenagers and the youth actually looking for when it comes down to, being recognized as, people and humans as well?
Well, I mean, talking for me or us,
Mm-hmm.
like if we was to ever get into like that kind of situation, we would like do what the person says, but there's people in Penns Grove that's like very hard-headed, so like they might not listen. But us, in general, we will. But he was listening too, and something happened. So
I agree with that. But I mean, like, on a level of, what are you asking for? What are the youth asking for? So for when you were walking not yesterday, on Saturday, and you were protesting, you were marching, but it's like, what do you want from that? What do you want people to actually recognize? What do you want people to hear from your words as you are marching?
Um, like to acknowledge like the racism, like for it to stop. Like we know it's not going to stop because
and
it's
to work together. If we want
Mhm.
something that change, we have to work together. We can't be fighting over here and fighting over there. We have to work together.
That's real. And what are the needs of the people in Penn Grove? Like, as you are marching, I'm sure that people, like, for here, an example, in Philadelphia, we're looking for a better education system. We're looking for, a better, just market growth, period, economic system for black and brown people, so we can start small businesses and have our own businesses. So on a youth level, what are the youth looking for in Penn's Grove?
More things in the community to help us like get to more together and understand each other more, because we don't really have stuff down here, and there's not really a lot of stuff to do. So maybe like more like programs, or and schooling too. Schooling isn't it's all right, but it could get better.
Mm-hmm. What about you, Heaven?
Well, for like jobs and stuff like this, like that, and yeah, and the school definitely needs to get better.
And when you say school needs to get better, that's something I wanted to bring up as well, because, especially since you guys been in quarantine, you haven't necessarily been in school. I would say your last day of school was March 14th, between the time of March 14th, March 16th. So it's now June, and I'm sure you are out of school now, and I'm sure you got your grades and everything. But how was that time, doing homeschooling, being in school, virtually? How was that for you as an experience?
Me personally, I really didn't like it. Like it was, I don't know how to explain it, but like it was hard. Like it was hard, but it was easy.
Mm-hmm.
You just gotta like get your work in on time. Yeah.
What about you?
It was very hard because I'm a hands-on learner.
Mm-hmm.
So like it being online, and then my math teacher, she was giving me stuff to where I didn't know, and I was supposed to watch a video, and I'm a hands-on learner, so it was very hard.
Mm-hmm. So at the time when it comes down to the curriculum, they were teaching new things and adding new things that you did not learn before March into the curriculum virtually.
Yes.
And when it came down to even grading, would you say that you were graded differently? Did they grade you guys differently on your test and on your work like that? Did that help a little bit, or do you think? Talk to me.
Yeah, because if they wouldn't, most likely people would not get very low grades. So like my school, they did the lowest you can get is a 50. So if instead of getting a 40s or below, the lowest grade you can get a 50. So you wouldn't most likely fail as much as you would if we was in school.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean that helps, but like
my school, did we go off numbers? Like it's like 0 to 4, and they grade us on that, and we was like the lowest you can get was a 0 or like a 1, and yeah, and they was just going off by the 3s and the 4s, and I missed the honor by C.
Really?
Yeah.
You still worked hard. I know you still worked hard. I definitely know you still worked hard. But I want to ask you, so you said my school, so that means y'all go to 2 different schools. But you're both in middle school, correct?
Yeah.
So what's the difference between both of your schools, if you don't mind me asking?
My school it's like a private school.
Okay.
But we used to go to the same school.
That makes sense. I just wanted to know because you was like my school, so I was like, I thought y'all went to the same school. But all right, cool. So when it came down to, and I wanted to ask you about, just schooling in general. Again, another question about that. So when it came down to just learning something, would you sum it up to say that you actually learned something this year? This is the 8th year for you, right?
Yes.
So within your 8th year of school, would you say that you learned something?
Yes.
Yeah.
You still got an education, you would say. Okay. All right, cool. Because that was my biggest fear. I was feeling like, some of the students were not learning anything. They was just turning in the work, and they knew that the teachers couldn't fail them, so they were just turning in before the deadline. So be honest with me. Was y'all getting it in during the deadline, or was y'all after the deadline?
I was getting in like
It was completed.
Yeah.
Like it was most likely it was on time.
Mm-hmm.
It was completed, but it was a lot. I had like 6 classes, and they were all given a lot of work.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like, okay, well, this class is gonna have to wait, and this class I'll do this class.
Mm-hmm.
And then in the beginning, they was giving us a lot of work, but then towards the end, they would just assign like one assignment per week.
Mm.
Like it'll be for different classes though.
So they worked it out. I would say towards the end, they worked it out a little bit better for students to really be able to get the work in on time.
Yes.
Okay, that makes sense. And because this was your graduation year as well. So how did they do the graduation? And congratulations to both of you, by the way. Glad to 2020. How did they do the graduation for you guys?
For me, they gave us our cap and gowns like last Thursday, right? Last Thursday, and then we're having our graduation in July.
In person?
Yes.
Oh, okay, so you still get to have one. All right, what about you?
Yeah, I don't have that. We never did cap and gowns, so this Friday we're gonna do the car thing.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna go to the school and we're gonna ride into the thing. They're gonna give us our papers, like the little certificate, and a goodie bag.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it. Oh, and a yearbook.
Okay, so they're still doing something as well. So do you appreciate it? Because you said like the little car thing. Do you still appreciate the fact that they're still doing something though?
Yeah, because this was our last year,
Mm-hmm.
and this was really the only year I was looking forward to.
Mm-hmm.
And then, it's something because I would have had my dance this year.
Mm-hmm.
And
That's real.
So graduation is okay. I'm fine with that.
I feel that. I feel like it's definitely a time that I know a lot of 8th graders, we're looking forward to because they will be moving on to high school. And I wanted to ask you guys this question too, getting back into the protest. So I was reading your signs that you have, and it was saying that all lives can't, but I couldn't read the bottom of it. So what did the sign actually say?
All lives can't matter if people of color can't. If people of color lives don't.
Awesome. And you made that one, Tatyiana.
Yeah.
So talk to me a little bit about that. Why did you put that on your sign?
Because I feel as though police only care for their race. So if they want their lives to matter, everybody's lives needs to matter. We're all equal at some point. Like, we're all humans. We all have feelings. We all have emotions. So we should all be treated the same. So I felt as though there should have been a poster.
Mm-hmm. And Heaven, what does your poster read?
My poster said I can't breathe again.
Awesome. And why did you write that on your poster?
Because this is not the first time it happened. It happened like 3 times.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. So, what were you about to say? I'm sorry.
Leeds, Eric Garner, Marshawn Leeds, was it Walter Scott or something? That was 2. That was 10. The last one.
And George Floyd.
And George Floyd.
Yes. Mm-hmm. You're right. So when it came down to, actually having, the posters and the signs and everything like that, how did that come together? Did you guys organize like a group for all of the students and all of the youth to come together, or was it an individual thing?
Well, we gave them the opportunity to make their own, but it was really just me, her, and my mom, and her friend, and her daughter, and my sister.
Mm-hmm.
We went to the park, and we made the signs.
Awesome. And I didn't even ask you about that, Tatyiana. How does it feel for you to have a support system, to know that your parents and your family was backing you, even down to helping you making the signs?
Great. Because, it's not a lot of things that happen down here. So for us to do something and be the first ones to do it and then having all of our family support us, it was a really good feeling.
Did you guys make a speech there, or did you guys have like a end of the rally conversation?
Yeah, we had a speech in the beginning.
Talk to me about that speech.
The speech, well, she helped me with it.
Awesome.
And then my dad also helped me with it too.
Awesome.
It was just like why we did it, and yeah.
So how did it feel? Talk to me. How you gonna do a speech and then be shy? You can't just do a speech and then be shy on me. How did that feel? You know what I mean? Like stepping up and saying something on behalf of, the youth of Pengrove.
So it was scary because like I have stage fright or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So like I had to like say it slow so I don't stutter or laugh. So yeah.
So what did you talk about in your speech? What were some talking points that you had in your speech?
How we shouldn't be scared to live our lives, and I put in there like to jog in our own neighborhoods, to sleep peacefully, or to walk home with Skittles and an Arizona tea.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Awesome. So when it comes down to, you, Tatyiana, actually helping her write her speech, what were your thoughts that you wanted to make sure that she got in there and that she said? What were some things that you wanted to make sure that was in that speech?
That she said some of the names of the people's lives lost.
Mm-hmm.
That she said some of the stuff that African American or colored people can't do. Just adding stuff that would get people's like attention or just to get the problem noticed.
Yes. So would you say that people your age are educated on some of the things that you guys are educated on? Like, I love the fact that you can't even say names, and the situation that these names, are even attached to. That is a beautiful thing. That means you are educating, and shout out to your families for educating you as well. But would you say that some of your peers are just as knowledgeable about the things that are happening?
No.
I mean, some people are. I feel as though some people are. But, because some people in our town, like, it happened personally. But not really, because...
Yeah, they don't really care too much. I guess you could say that. Yeah.
So, and why do you think that? Because, and you're not the first person to tell me that. You're not the first, teenager to actually tell me that. Because, like you said, as being 14, it's not too hard to be 14. You don't really have to worry about too much. But there are things that are happening around you, and you're not oblivious to it. You're not ignorant. You physically see it. You just choose not to pay attention to it. So when you say people don't care or the youth don't care, why do you think that, Evan?
Because, like, I don't really know. It's just the way they act, and, like, they don't...
Our generation, they're just careless. They don't really care for stuff. Like, if it don't go, like, happen to them, they're not going to care for it. So, they just don't pay attention to it.
So what do we need to do as millennials? You know what I mean? Like, not even in our parents, generation. Like, what can we do as millennials? Like, the age group that's right above you. How can we help to really get you to be, someone who does care about what's happening? And not you personally. I'm just talking about the Generation Z.
I mean, our protests, I feel like it opened a lot of eyes.
Mm-hmm.
It got a lot of, it was a lot of young people there. So, more protests or more activities like this, I feel as though it will open the eyes of our youth people. But, we don't, yeah.
What about like conversation? Do you believe that, because a lot of organizations and a lot of nonprofits believe that, having these circles or having these youth group conversations will actually help to get us to that next step with bridging the generation gap with the youth, right? And helping them to understand on a level in which we want them to understand on. So do you really, tell me the truth. Do you really think that, more and more organizations popping up that are surrounded by youth, I would say intentions, do you think that that's what we need?
Yes.
We do need that. Okay. So having a conversation is something that the youth does enjoy.
Yes.
So you want to be talked to.
Yes.
You want to be heard.
Yes.
So do we come to the conversation asking the questions, or do we come to the conversations with an open ear ready to listen to what you guys are asking us?
Both. Both. Yeah.
I would say I'm open for both.
Yeah.
Okay. And even when it comes down to you as the youth now explaining things to us that we may not understand, do you believe that more youth will be open and understanding to explaining that to us and expressing that in different ways other than just anger?
Yes.
So how do we approach that? Do we approach that in the conversation?
Just make sure you say it's peaceful. Just don't just say, okay, we're going to do this and then do that. Or you have to ask them. You can't just say, okay, well, I want you to do this. Or you have to ask them, because some people, I mean, I know me personally, I don't like to be pushed around. So I know if like somebody was to come up to me and tell me I had to do something, like, I mean, I'm going to do it because, I don't. But I feel as though if you're like, okay, well, I want you to do this and say it in a way, I'm not going to like do it the same way I would say if you came up to me and politely said it. So just say it in a way to get it out there respectfully, and or more so kids wise, because I feel as though kids understand each other and they all just communicate in some kind of way. So kids will connect more than kids and adults will.
So you're saying approach it in a way where we can pass the because that would be kind of hard though, Tatyiana. Like if I want to have a conversation from a millennial to a Generation Z, I want to have that conversation with you. I wouldn't want to go through heaven to have a conversation with you. So are you telling me I should go through heaven to talk to you?
Well, or just respectfully, you gotta say it, because I feel like our generation, they just are very careless and just are very careless. So like if you was it's a lot of people in Pensgrove, or I feel as though in the world, that just don't care. So like
that's what I'm asking. I want to know, how can we get to the point where we want to understand why you don't care, and then second, we want to help you to care. And I just want to know how to approach that, because I feel like as millennials, we have the best bet, because I feel like the next generation, which is my parents, they really it's still more time. Yes, I don't want to X them out, but I feel like they really have lost that ground right there in order for them to really get to understand the Generation Z. So I feel like it's on millennials for us to teach the Generation Z how, it's going to roll out. We're definitely, backing the generation because how fearless you are. I wouldn't necessarily say careless, Tatiana. I would definitely say fearless. I would say your generation is completely fearless. Like you don't fear anything. It's shown in so many different levels of how fearless your generation really is. So let me ask you this last question before I wrap up. When it comes down to keeping a child in a child's place, have you guys ever heard of that saying, stay in a child's place, before? What's your thoughts on that? I have my own personal views on that. When you hear an adult ask you or tell you to stay in a child's place, what's the first thing as a teenager? What's the first thing that comes to your mind?
Me personally, I don't know. Like I just roll my eyes and just walk away, cause like I don't like when somebody tell me that. Like I like to be I like to be aware of stuff.
I love that word. I love that word, aware.
I mean, if I was to be in that situation, it's because I know that like I have a point. So I'm gonna prove my point. But if I'm wrong, I'll admit that I'm wrong. But if I know my point is right, I'm going to tell you that my point is right. I'm not like, okay, but
We want an explanation for our point.
So do you feel like when you are being told to stay in a child's place, that means your opinion or your perspective or your point to pinpoint on what you said is not being heard?
Yes.
So how as adults do we approach you in that? Because we do want to hear you, yes, and yes, your opinion and your perspective does matter, yes, but timing is everything. And sometimes as, adolescent or as a youth and even as a teenager, you don't understand timing too much. And I'm not saying that you do, you mean saying like that equates to it all, but I'm just saying, like, how would you advise that we approach you in that, even though sometimes timing is not always aligned between adult and child or adult and youth?
Just give us the opportunity to speak.
That's real.
Because if you don't give us the opportunity to speak, you never know what we're going to say.
Mm-hmm.
I feel as though kids speak better than most adults. Because I feel like no adult in our town was doing this. So I feel like us being 14 and doing this, I feel like if they didn't give us the opportunity to do it, then nobody was ever going to do it. It wouldn't have happened down here.
Mm-hmm.
So if it wasn't for kids, it wouldn't have happened.
I appreciate you both always. So before I let you both go, I want you guys to say your last words. Anything that you want the people to hear that's listening on the other side of the radio. What do you want them to hear from both you two? What's next? When it comes down to after the march, like, what's next for you two? This can't just stop here. So what's going to happen? And I'm not going to say can't, because if you guys just choose to, I appreciate you for what you have done thus far. But if you do decide to go on to what's next, do you guys have anything in mind?
There definitely will be more to come. Yeah, and like there will be more marches and stuff.
We were offered to be leaders in a youth group.
Awesome.
So we'll most likely do that.
Big. That's big. Shout out to y'all summer. Y'all about to have a poppin' summer.
And we're more noticed now, so it's not like we can just stop now. So yeah, like she said, it'll be a lot more.
Awesome. I actually want to invite you to, on Thursday, I am actually hosting with an organization here in Philly called Reclaim You, which is a youth organization, and we're having a youth-led conversation hosted by the youth, teenagers as well as, and I want to invite you two onto the panel discussion. It starts on Thursday at 6. I'm going to send the information to your father to see if this is something you want to do. But I would love for both of your voices to be heard on that panel. I think it's definitely a place where you two need to be. And I think that would be great to merge the two cities. I know you're in Penn Grove, but I know that a lot of the youth in Philadelphia are feeling the exact same way that you two are feeling. So to be able to merge those two and also make those connections with what you guys got going on, I feel like that would be dope. So you guys can actually, be able to make different connections in what you're doing. You with it?
Yes.
Bet. I'm going to send the information to your father. I appreciate you once again. Shout out to your dad, man. He's definitely doing the right thing and supporting you guys 100%, backing you guys 100%. Tatyiana, I appreciate your family as well. Thank you, for coming through and supporting us here at Revive Radio and giving, us your voice today, because we definitely want to hear it. We know that you have an opinion. We know you have a perspective. We want to hear it here live on Revive. Do y'all want to make y'all last shout outs before y'all go?
Thank you for having us.
No doubt, man. I can't wait to hear from you guys on Thursday. It's going to be a lot more deeper questions that I know you both will be, ready for, and I'm excited for this.
Okay. Thank you.
No doubt, man. You already know what time. I'll talk to you guys later.
Bye.
Have a great rest of your week, man. It's your girl, P.O.C., host of Revive Radio, man. Turn your radios up. Spread the word. Spread the message. Shout out to Heaven and Tatyiana, man, coming out of Penn Grove, New Jersey. Doing it the right way, man. Getting people together. Unifying the people. Making sure they understand that we do have a choice, and that choice is greatness, man. Each and every time we go live on Revive, we got a jam-packed show. Turn your radios up. Spread the word. Spread the message, man. Revive is alive. Revive is alive. ReviveIsAlive.com. It's a place where you need to be each and every week, man. Spread the word, spread the message. Click that link in my bio. It's going to take you directly where you need to be. Let's go. Yep, you know what time it is, man. It's me, your girl, P.O.C., host of Revive Radio. I need you all out there to do one thing for me right now. Spread the word, spread the message that Revive is alive. Once again, Revive is alive. And I need you guys to go check out our website at ReviveIsAlive.com. Once again, ReviveIsAlive.com, and follow us Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Revive_POC.
You already know what it is.
Announce for Revive Radio. Tuning out for Revive Radio.
Peace, this is Dion, man, the CEO of GradTex. You can find us online at www.gradtex.com. Find us on all social media platforms, Instagram, Facebook, at GradTex, GARDTECHS, GradTex. You now listen to Revive Radio. If you ain't listening to Revive, what you listening to?